Now we're going to talk about employment as a student, and in particular, we're going to talk about employment that propels you and your career forward, and also employment in student jobs, which are jobs that you can find at your college or university, which can also help propel you forward. So this is, I'm just going to tell you some stories. So when I was an undergraduate, I had this great job. It was such a good job. I learned that the Disabled Student Services, DSPS, Disabled Student Services, they needed somebody to take notes. They needed people to take notes. They needed students to take notes for other students who could not take notes, right? And so they were in classes and they weren't able to take notes. And so I would go to DSPNS and I would tell them, like, okay, I would like to be a note taker, and here are the classes I would like to take notes in. And I'd list out all the classes I was taking. And then they would call me up and they'd be like, okay, great, we need you in this class or that class, or sometimes all of my classes, they would have me be a note taker. And then they would pay me to go to class and take notes for a class I was already in and I needed to take notes for. And then after the class, I would photocopy my notes and give them to the student who wasn't able to take their own notes. And I'd talk with the student and make sure they're all clear. And I would get paid to go to class. Amazing job, right? Like that's, got incredible benefits. It's like, there's a phrase in English, which is like, two birds with one stone. So I'm getting two things done with one thing, right? I'm going and doing my job as a student, like I see being a student as work, as a job. It's like something I treat professionally. It's, when you get done with school, then you have your job, which is you go work in the profession you work towards. But while you're in school, you're already in that profession, but your job is to learn about that profession. Your job is to be a student. So I go do my job as a student, right? I'd be a student, I'd take notes, but I also simultaneously be doing my job as a note taker for both myself as a student and for that other student. So that was an incredible class. All right, an incredible job. So here's another story. It's another incredible job. So at the college I work at, there's a tutorial center. And the tutorial center needs tutors. And so students that I identify as great students, I want to help them out. I could see they're going forward. Like, I'm like, hey, do you want to be a tutor in my class? And I ask students in my class, 1 student, 2 students, do you want to be a tutor for this class, for this subject? And then I walk them over to the tutorial center and I introduce them to the person in the tutorial center. And if they get signed on, they get to be a tutor in that subject. And that's going to help them propel their career and their life forward because 1, it's going to reinforce the material of a course they're already taking. 2, it's going to build their resume and it's going to show a job that is more significant and more professional than just washing dishes in a restaurant, which is where I started out. So no disrespect, right? Like it was a great job to start out. I learned a lot of amazing things and then you work up from there. But, being a tutor, it starts to build, some experience in academia and in education and in helping people and in a bunch of other skills, which can be really relevant and applicable to your professional life. Teaching people, training people in the corporate world, like collaborating with people, working with people, being accountable. It's like going to help your resume. So build your resume and you get paid to do it and you're reinforcing what you're already learning. Those are all really great things. But here's the added benefit, the added bonus. When you become a tutor, at least in my college, you need to go to the tutorial center and you need to be there like 20 hours a week. And you will sit there in the tutorial center waiting for students to come in to be tutored. And while you're waiting for students to come in and be tutored, you can work on your other homework. You're getting paid to work on your other homework. How amazing is that? And then when somebody comes in, you get to meet somebody new. You get to grow your social network. You get to help people. You get to reinforce your skills that you've already learned about this subject. And you also get to, what's the other one? You get to build your resume. So you get all of those things. So being employed on campus can be an amazing thing. And it can be so much more beneficial and valuable than just going out and getting a job as a dishwasher. Right? It's really going to allow you to move your career forward. You want to think about taking positions that move you to where you want to go. And every time you take a new position, you want to move forward a step, right? You go from being a tutor to being a teaching assistant to being adjunct faculty to being a professor, right? Like that's how you build into academia, right? I was a tutor, then you're a teaching assistant. A teaching assistant is somebody who works in one class and helps a professor with one class. And then, you can become an adjunct professor after you have your degrees, which is like you're just teaching part-time, you're teaching classes, and then you could get a job as a full professor. That's an example of how you're always taking jobs that move you to the next step. So let me illustrate why that's important with an example. I know somebody who, they didn't care so much for high school. They're smart, They did great. They went to an amazing high school, but they didn't care so much for high school. And when they got out of high school, they're like, I really like physical stuff. I like being in the world. I like doing stuff. So they went to lineman school. And they got out of lineman school after, however long it took them to do that. It wasn't too long, a couple of months. And they got a job as a lineman, the people who put up the power lines between those power poles. And his job was to take a jackhammer into the mountains and go dig 8-foot holes that are like by 3 feet wide with the jackhammer, sometimes through pure rock, right? And he had to dig these holes up in the mountains. And it was such hard, laborious work, and it wiped him out so hard. And the culture of the working environment didn't fit with him. But after like 6 months or 8 months, he's like, I want to go back to school. Now he's training to be a doctor. I'm like, great. And he's doing a great job as a student, right? Like his chemistry professor from a previous semester said, hey, can you come in and talk to this class for this semester and tell them what you did to be successful, right? Like he's really doing a good job as a student, but then he took a job in a restaurant. It's like, no, don't take a job in a restaurant. Go get your EMT license and work on an ambulance, right? Getting your EMT license will only take you 6 months, knock that out, and then go start working on an ambulance, because if you do that and you're going pre-med and you have that experience, I was an undergraduate, I got EMT, I worked on an ambulance, and then I worked in an ER as a tech, right? You start moving up that path of like, okay, I'm getting experience, I'm getting to know people, I'm getting connections in this field, people who could write me letters of recommendation to go to grad school, to go to med school, right? And then when I'm applying for a job, they'll be able to write letters of recommendations for me. You want to get them, right at the point of time that you're with that person, not like 3 years later. They'll be able to write letters of recommendation for me, or I'll be able to get the letter of recommendation that they wrote for me earlier and have them update it and then use that to apply for jobs, right? Like all of that is building your career. So you always want to build your career. If you want to be a doctor, don't go work in a restaurant. Get your EMT or something else and start working in the medical field. So that's what you want to do. All right, that's employment as a student. You could find some pretty sweet jobs on campus that will allow you to accomplish more than one goal at the same time. So look around for those. And you can see the notes here for this lecture right here. So you could pause the video and you could read through these notes right here. And then you could pause the video once more and you could read through those notes right there. And you could pause the video once more and you could read through those notes right there. All right, so employment can be a wonderful thing, help you build your resume, help you get to know new people, help you get letters of recommendation, help you gain new skills, and help you move forward in your career and in life.